Thanksgiving is coming up. Are you ready for the family gathering, dude?
To be honest, not really.
Lots of anxiety comes up around this time, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel this way.
Absolutely.
It's so hard sometimes to be around people that, you can get into arguments with, or, the family drama that can come up. You know how that is. So it's difficult, but there's definitely ways that we can be better prepared just for ourselves, right?
I think it's a 3-step process, really. It's like you got to prepare before the event. You got to have some stuff going on during the event. And then after the event, you got to make sure to take care of yourself. I mean, one of the biggest... Decompress, right? I mean, it's tricky, and it brings up a lot of, anxieties and things that people are going to ask you. I know for the longest time, years before, it was, when are you getting married? It's like, oh my God, again, dude. Like,
having
Jesus.
some kids, what's going on? Like, oh, you got married? Oh, okay. So when are you going to have some kids, or whatever? Oh, did you get that job? Or what are you doing with your job? Oh my God. Do you have the most important role in the world? No, just
still
regular person, grandma. Like,
For sure. So, I mean, the biggest thing is, right, beforehand, before you even go, just set some boundaries. Know what are going to be topics you do want to talk about, topics you're going to stay away from, right? So, like, okay, this is going to be acceptable. Okay, if this question gets asked, here's going to be the quick response I'm going to have for that,
Right.
Another one is to essentially create a strategy for some of those harder questions, right? Is like, how do I maneuver? How do I get out of them?
Mm-hmm. And I think in my mind, what comes to me is like having maybe go-to responses in my head, planned ahead, so that, like, let's say they ask a question that I don't like, I'm gonna be like, or they even make a statement, let's say, that I don't like, and be like, yeah, that's interesting. Like, I've been thinking about that, right?
Good
like just
point.
a casual good point, or whatever it may be, just a casual answer where you're not prolonging the conversation. Like, it's kind of like read the social cues kind of thing.
Right.
I don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to respond because it's rude not to, kind of thing. But I'm not going to ask you a follow-up question. I'm not going to try to engage you about this topic because it's truly not something I want to talk about.
Or get angry. Dude, you got to get your own emotions in check before you go in. Like, okay, they're going to ask me stuff that I'm not going to be happy about, or there's going to be conversation that I don't want to participate in. Get yourself ready and don't get angry when it happens, because you're prepared.
Yeah.
Right?
It's going to happen. I mean, you guys know, like, it's going to happen in family gatherings.
You got to be ready.
There's going to be something that is being asked or talked about that you're not going to like.
And practicing to be able to roll that off, right? If bringing up the same question that is like, oh, when are you getting married? Something as simple as like, haha, next year, don't worry about it. I got it.
Laugh it off.
And then just right away have another question so that you could quickly redirect and be in charge of the conversation, right? Instead of just sitting there and being like, oh, well, I don't know. And then, or getting upset, like, how many times do I have to tell you? Like, dude, get your own emotions in check, and then have a quick kind of exit strategy, right? And not the party exit strategy,
right.
but how to get out of a particular conversation with someone.
Yeah.
And then automatically ask them something about them, right? You want to turn the conversation and be able to say, oh, grandma, in this case, poor grandma.
I know. Oh, well.
Oh, grandma, how were your tomatoes this year?
Right.
How was your harvest?
And Helen, how was your vacation to, I don't know where, right? Like Mexico or whatever it may be.
Right. So quickly
how did it
change
go?
the subject.
Right. Yeah. And people typically don't really even notice sometimes that you're even trying to change the subject, but it's to your own benefit, right? Because they're like, oh yeah, it was awesome. It was fun. And then they go and tell you all about their trip.
Right. There's no reason to get defensive, to get emotional. It's coming.
Right.
So the best strategy is just to be armed, ready, know what you're going to do. Right. So now let's kind of think about the other point. It's not just about preparing for what you're going to do at the event. It's about preparing right now. Are you exercising a couple of days before, right? Because today, for example, you want to start right before Thursday. And okay, like, am I drinking enough water? Making sure that you're getting good sleep, making sure that you are your best self when you have to encounter a very stressful situation for you.
Right. How do you take care of yourself? How do you take care of sort of any irritability in your life, but not to mention, when we all go into the holidays and certain social events with family, sometimes it could be very triggering. So how are you doing that? Are you journaling? Are you talking about that with a trusted individual, a friend, things like that? Absolutely.
Right. So now let's get to the part where you're at the actual party, right? So please, again, stay calm. This isn't going to be this isn't the first, this isn't the last time it's happening. So you have to sort of accept that part, right? And when you accept that this is what's going to happen, and you've kind of have some prepared plans, you can stay calm and you can maneuver the situation. Nothing's going to be really a surprise for the most part.
Right. And let's say, you're in the middle of a conversation with whoever in your family, right? And you're trying to divert, you're trying to change the topic, and they just keep coming back, let's say. What do? I think in my mind, it's like, okay, you know what? Can you excuse me, guys, for a second? I got to run to the bathroom.
Perfect. Having little breaks.
Right. Exactly. Or step outside. Hey, you know what? I need some air. I'm feeling a little hot.
Or full, like, boy,
let me go lay down.
Breathe, or take a walk. Like, wow, that turkey was delicious, but I need to go take a little
breather. Exactly. Something like that where it gets you out of that immediate kind of situation, because sometimes people can get very stick to
persistent.
That. Exactly. Persistent is a really good word. They will keep going.
Even if you try to divert, they'll come right back. Yeah,
right.
For sure.
So you need to be able to be prepared to say, hey, I'm going to take a quick second, or I got to run to the bathroom or something, know?
Or, let me see if mom or auntie or whoever needs some help in the kitchen. Oh, shoot, let me, gotta, whatever. Or gather the dish. Keep yourself busy, I think, another one, right? And
yeah, very much so.
In addition to that, you have to kind of identify who are your allies in the household. Like, let's say there's a gathering of 10 people. There's got to be 1 or 2 people that you're super chill with, you're super cool with. So you kind of have to gravitate towards them and engage in conversations, help them if they're doing something, kind of they'll be your anchor there. And I mean, if they're super close, if somebody's super close to you, you can even tell them ahead of time, like, yo, dude, if I get this question asked one more time, you got to come save me, man, please,
Yeah. And maybe this is something, back to kind of the first part we talked about, maybe this is something you can preemptively talk to them about.
Right.
Like as a pre-plan, because sometimes in the middle of all that, it's kind of hard to be like, hey, save me from this, but maybe beforehand having a conversation, hey, you know how it always is, like, can we just try to stick together or try to sort of rescue each other in this event, because it usually gets difficult this way. Yeah.
Because I think about something more painful, not just like the typical questions that you get, when are you getting married or engaged or whatever. I'm thinking about okay, what if you had just gone through a breakup and now you're going to a family by yourself for the first time, and they're going to say, oh, where's Frank, and it's like, dude, and then you have to, what if it's something bad, or what if it's something traumatic or unpleasant or whatever, and you just don't want to be there. That's, I think, having an ally at that point, because they'll be listening for that. Like, oh, hey, auntie, don't, can you come over here and help me cut the cake or something?
Yeah, whatever, maybe the pie.
Sometimes it's like, oh, thank God.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
It's so important, because then you can feel a little bit safer. You don't always have to answer those questions like that. Or it makes me think of chew it over with a Twix kind of thing, right? I just need those few minutes to maybe formulate an answer, or just divert the attention real quick, because I just can't right now.
Pro tip, have a Twix in your pocket.
Exactly. There you go. Exactly.
But ultimately, right, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, if you're also somebody who is maybe a little more confident, or a little you feel like you can actually make some statements, then your job is perhaps to suggest some activities too. Like, oh, hey guys, let's play this game. Because if everybody's busy playing a game, they're not asking you personal questions. They're not necessarily doing those things that are going to be something that brings you discomfort, or kind of corner you into a conversation you don't want to be a part of.
Right.
Because then everybody's engaged in whatever task they're doing in the moment.
I think that's a great idea, actually, to maybe think of a couple games or something that you can either bring or, prepare for ahead of time that will fill the time.
Right.
Because if you're just sitting there in front of each other, of course, they're going to be asking you all about your business. It just is what it is, right? But if you have some kind of diversion activities, I think that really helps for sure.
I mean, why not, right? If you have a game that you like, bring it with you and be like, hey, because the whole family doesn't have to play with you. Even if you're off playing a game with a couple people, you're occupied, which means you are unavailable to be a part of whatever uncomfortable situation you have going in your mind right now about your own family during Thanksgiving. You know?
Right. Exactly. And this doesn't even have to be like a one-on-one conversation between you and somebody else. Let's say you're a witness to a conversation that you feel uncomfortable with. You could also use these same tips to just walk away or find an activity to do or whatever it may be, right? Because it's the same thing. If you feel uncomfortable, that's okay. You don't have to stay in that.
Exactly.
You have a choice.
That's a perfect way of putting it. That's true. You don't have to be a part of something that is going to make you uncomfortable, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to avoid your entire family.
Right.
Because this doesn't just happen at family events. This kind of rolls over in different environments of your life. So just kind of taking these tips for what they are is how do you maneuver uncomfortable situations? It just so happens to be that we're talking about it in the context of Thanksgiving.
Right, because Thanksgiving's coming up. So,
right. Okay, so cool. Thanksgiving's almost over. You're like, okay, I'm tired. Oh, thank you so much. Everything is delicious. Bye. Okay, great. Now what do you do, right? Because you've just kind of managed. You've done all the techniques. Doesn't change the fact that it was still probably a little stressful and a little difficult because you've had some anxiety through that experience, right? So do what now?
It helps to reflect, I think, in whatever manner that works for you, whether that's in your head, writing it down, talking to a friend, talking to a trusted individual, a therapist, whatever it may be, but talking about it and reflecting and thinking about what happened. What are some things that I did do good? What are some things I can work on for next time? You know, or just to like literally vent to somebody about what happened. Doesn't always have to be so technical, right?
I see
but
what you're
venting
saying.
to somebody, I think, is really helpful.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think you're right. It's look back, see what worked, see what didn't work, and then call somebody and say, oh my God, here's what happened.
Exactly.
And then let it go.
Can you believe this?
Right? You're not carrying around. You're not harboring resentment. You're processing it, looking at it for what it is, taking positives from that experience, things that didn't work. You're like, okay, cool. Not going to try that again. And then being able to get all your feelings out and then move on. Right?
Yeah.
And also, what is Thanksgiving? You're supposed to be grateful, right? So again, I'm going to say this a million times. Gratitude is such a good mindset to kind of have, right? It's like, yes, okay, maybe this person is annoying or ask questions that you're uncomfortable with or whatever, but you have them and they probably have been in many wonderful moments of your life. Being grateful that their presence was part of your life, you know, and that they're still here. And even with all the different complexities of human experiences between you or in general, being grateful that you have this moment, that you have a family, that you've had this wonderful meal, that you had something that was an experience that many do not have. So you have to also realize that with all the little things, there's a lot to cherish and a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah. And even if it didn't go well, like just practice that empathy too, right? Like where are people at? Where are they coming from? You know, what life experiences led them to be the way that they are? You know, some people just don't know that some of these questions aren't really questions you should be asking.
Oh my God.
Because they're hurtful, but they don't know that because that's what they've always been taught. Oh, ask about kids, ask about marriage, ask about whatever, right? And it's like,
because that shows you care,
right?
So the perspective might be completely
different. If you don't ask questions, that means you're not interested, right? And what questions do they ask? Are these go-to questions, right? That to you might feel really hurtful because of X, Y, and Z, because of your personal experiences, whatever it may be. But for them, it's like they're just questions. So maybe just practicing a little bit of that empathy for other people too might be helpful to be able to just cope with everything that happens during these gatherings,
and
right?
That applies to before, during, and after.
Exactly. Kind of an all-encompassing type of thing.
At the end of the day, you got this, man. Don't even worry.
Exactly. Yeah. We all stress. The holidays are hard. Family gatherings are always hard, but we can do this.